Today we will be doing something that I have personally not done before, and that is to install coilovers on the 2019 ND MX-5 30th anniversary. We have Bilstein dampers on from factory, and those we will be replacing with MeisterR Clubrace coilovers then, and these coilovers are more meant for track use, so hopefully it will not be too bad on the street. We will see. If it works out, it works out. If not, then we have to reconsider. And behind me you see my wheels, and we'll get to what tires will be running in another video. But for today, or for you it will be today, for me maybe it will be, I don't know, 10 days before I get this installed, because I never get back on the road in no time, as someone said. So without any further ado, let's get on with the install. And also, if you do like the content, I would much appreciate if you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification to stay notified for any new content that I will be uploading. We have a bunch of stuff coming for the MX-5 and also the BMW that's parked outside. And if you like this video, give me one thumbs up. That will be much appreciated. Before we start removing any of the suspension components, we need to secure that the car is safely standing on jack stands, wheel cribs, or if you have a lift, that is even better. Once that is done, we need to disconnect the front end swaybar link. We'll remove the top one, and that is a 14mm bolt, this one here. Once that is done, we'll remove the bolt holding the shock in place, and that is a 17mm bolt down there. Once that is done, to be safe that we don't damage anything and to give us a bit of slack, we'll remove the brake line wire and the ABS sensor wire. Those are held in place by two 12mm bolts on each side of the upper control arm. Once that is done, we'll start removing the two 17mm bolts on the upper control arm. As you can see there, if this focuses, we'll remove one of them, the other one we will unthread and let it be so it holds the control arm in place. Once we have done that, we'll move on top and we will remove the strut tower brace if you have any, and then we have 3 bolts holding the strut from on the top. And in this case, as you can see, I have the sound tube still here, so I think maybe we need to remove this bolt to give us some space to get to this bolt. But that is it with regards to what we need to remove in order to be able to take the strut out. Now we have all the bolts out. The actual shock is loose. Now we have to just fiddle it out. We have one of the bolts still left in on the upper control arm, holding it in place. So I will remove that and hold the knuckle here, and then we'll see if we can remove it without breaking anything. There we go. Now we have to gently get this out without damaging anything. There we have it. And we just slide it out. Yeah! So here we have the Wheelstein shock. And now we just gonna install the coilover, which we have here. And I have measured the height of it, so it is the same as the other side. So this is going to be a bit tricky to do it by myself, but let's give it a go. Take it careful so we don't damage any paint here. I will try to line up the holes and then we'll try to secure it from top and then move our way down. Like so. Okay, that was a little bit tricky. So now we will have to retighten everything. I have the torque specs. What you usually want to do is clock your bushings, so everywhere that we have rubber bushings, etc. Once we have load on all four corners, meaning the weight of the car is fully on the tires, you're supposed to loosen all the bolts where you have rubber bushings to let the car settle. However, I will start off with putting a jack under the lower control arm and lift up or decompress the suspension, and then we will retighten everything to the torque spec. Now we have moved our way to the rear, and here we need to do some preparations before we can start removing the actual dampers. And we need to remove the liner which we have here, which is fastened by 6 million push pins. So those have been taken out and the liner is out, so we're exposing the bare metal and some shielding that we need to remove. First, we need to remove this shield here for the fuel line, so it's sitting there with 4 10mm bolts, and then we have a shield here which we potentially need to remove as well in order for us to make it more simple to get to the top strut bolts, which we have there. And then the other two we have there, as you can see, hopefully. So what we'll do is we start to remove this shield here, and then we'll see if we can remove the other shield as well. Once we have the two bolts holding the top strut, we move our way down and go here and remove the bolt holding the actual damper in place, which is this one. And then we disconnect the rear end swaybar link. And once we have done so, we'll push down on the hub and then remove the damper safely without damaging anything. So that is what we're gonna do next. Oh yeah, we got it out. Whew. So in order to get the bolt holding this in place, I find it to be much better to push down the hub. Then the bolt is easily removed. And also, as you can see, the OEM shock or damper has a welded nut in place, so MeisterR has provided a nut to replace this then, because the MeisterR one doesn't have a welded nut in place. So what we will do now, and also as you can see, I couldn't remove the rear end sway bar, so but it was possible to push this down anyway, so it worked. Next we'll just install the coilover, and we'll torque everything down to spec, and then we are ready with the rear end installation. So as you can see, MeisterR provided this locking nut instead of the welded nut that was on the OEM damper then. So what we'll do is we'll try to install this in some sort of fashion without breaking anything. So what I will do is install the bolt to see if we can hold this in place, and then I'll go up and install the two top bolts holding this in place, and then we'll torque everything down like so. So what I will do is actually use the jack to jack the damper up a bit so we can align and hold the damper or the coilover in the holes on top. I hope this comes through in the video. This is just to make my life easier. Otherwise I have to hold everything with one hand and it's going to be really difficult. Like so. Then we go on top and just install the two 14mm bolts. Like so, without dropping anything. We'll tighten these later. Just wanted to have them in place, like so. So I'll do the same as we did on the fronts. I will jack up the suspension in the knuckle here, and then we retighten everything according to the specifications with regards to the torque figures. One last thing with regards to the suspension is to install these extension arms for the adjustment knob, because we will have the liner etc. in place and it's going to be difficult to adjust the settings. So in the package we had these adjustment arms included, and they just go on top of the adjustment nut like so, and then you just screw this locking bolt in place, or screw. Like so. And then we just test to see if it's possible to adjust it. And it is perfect. It's looking good. It's looking good. Not bad for a first timer. That is all for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope it has given you some insight on what needs to be done. It was a little bit difficult to film with a point of view camera and with the camera I'm holding in my hand. It's a rather cramped area, and also to be able to hold stuff with one hand and doing something with the other. Yeah, whatever. So hopefully it gave you some insight on what needs to be done, and the steps are more or less the same if you are doing this for just swapping out your springs. Coilover installation is actually a bit more simpler because you just replace the dampers with another damper, so to speak. So it's actually a bit quicker. It took me somewhere around 3-4 hours, and that is with the filming and trying to figure out what needs to be done and so on, as it is the first time I'm doing it. So yeah, I mean, it's a rather simple job, and I am not back on the road in no time. As you can see, I don't have any wheels on, and that is because I want to take the opportunity while the car is on jack stands to actually coat my calipers with 2 coats of ceramic coating. So stay tuned for that video on how you actually do that. It's also rather simple. So once we have done that, I will actually then put the wheels on and we'll see if the ride height needs to be adjusted. And we have the adjustment here, as you can see, then for setting the ride height. If you have any questions at all, just hit me up in the comment sections below and I will try to answer them the best I can. And do remember to subscribe and give me a thumbs up for the video if you liked it. And also hit that bell notification to stay notified when we upload new stuff for the MX-5 or the BMW or anything car related, car detailing, etc. So with that said then, I'll see you on the next one.